Good day, people. So I'm making this very short tutorial on rendering because I realized that I didn't actually show how to render, and if you started experimenting and doing things, you need to know how to do it. So over here we got this clip that I used in my previous tutorial, and before I start, actually I should probably go over the overview. So I guess this is video 2.5 because it's just very short. So I'll be covering rendering in H.264 and QuickTime. So really quick, H.264 is MP4 and it's very common on YouTube and just about everywhere. QuickTime I don't use that often. If I am making a effects intensive shot and I need to re-render assets over and over, I will render in QuickTime because it keeps the quality. But the files are pretty big. So step one. So this is the shot. So to render something in After Effects, there's many ways of rendering it, meaning many codecs, but I'll be covering those too. Alright, so over here I have 8 seconds of footage. Now I don't want to render the whole thing. Sometimes you'll be working on something and you want to render the whole thing, which is usually what you want to do. But in my case, I don't want to render the whole thing. I just want to render this little part. So I'm going to grab these and then move them to the in and out points of where I want to render. Now this will determine what's being rendered. Now, once I've looked at it and I'm satisfied with the shot, all I gotta do now is make sure the composition is selected, go to composition, and then click add to render queue. Once that's done, click on best settings, and then just make sure everything's fine. Usually it's fine, so you don't have to worry about it. So you want this to be best, full, make sure it's the right size and everything. So pretty good. You can look at the settings, you can pause and look. You want to click on lossless now, and this is where you get to choose what you want your footage to be. Now because I'm not going to be rendering this again because this is the final clip, I'm just going to render it in H.264. You get an RGB channel, you get millions of colors. You do not get millions of colors plus. I'll explain that later. And if there's audio in your video and you want it to be rendered as well, make sure this is enabled, otherwise it's not going to work. For H.264, the format options, really the higher the better, but the heavier the footage is going to be. Also make sure this is in high 5.1, otherwise it's not going to look that good. So if you're going to render to YouTube, YouTube renders this YouTube compresses videos to 8 and 8. But to get the most amount of quality in your videos, I usually render 13:15 to get the most amount. But if I'm going to make a long video, like this video right now is rendered in 10:15. So it's up to you. Yeah, so that's that. That covers H.264. Then you press OK. Audio's fine. H.264, yeah, we changed everything. Next you want to click over here. And then this is where you save it. So let's type, I don't know. Alright, so that's fine. Let's save it. And then you press render. Excellent, so that just rendered. That sound was lovely. And now if we go check the folder where it is, there it is in all its glory. So that's how you do H.264. I will not be previewing that. Next up comes QuickTime. So if you do not have QuickTime, basically just go on Google, type in download QuickTime. You'll get this link, and basically just press download and you're done. This will also be in the description, so you don't even have to type it into Google. Look at that. Next up, QuickTime. So I quickly made this lower thirds to show how to render an alpha channel. So basically, usually After Effects looks like this, but really that black is transparent, meaning that there's nothing there. So to render an alpha channel, which is transparency, which means my video will only be this big. It's only going to be that. There's not going to be anything here. To do that, you can't do it with H.264. You got to do it with QuickTime. So if you're on the fence on downloading QuickTime, now is your reason to do it. Once again, I don't want to render this whole thing because it ends right there, and it'd be pointless to render it past here. So what I'm going to do is just put it there, shrink that to here, and because I know I'm not going to be using this ever, I can right click and do trim comp to work area, and then that's my comp. So that's looking fabulous, actually. See, I trimmed it a bit too short. So right now, because it doesn't matter, I could just move this over and it'd be fine. But because I trimmed it too short, I'm just going to go in composition settings and then add an extra frame, so 21. There we go. And now you'll notice, there we go. Great. So that's looking good so far. Let's render this out. Composition, add to render queue. Best settings, pretty sure it's fine. Yeah, 23.97. Best, full, already on. Got it. Lossless. Now this time is in Quicktime instead of H.264. So that was previously. We're going to render in Quicktime now. And then you don't want RGB because that's just red, green, blue. You want red, green, blue, and alpha. And then millions of colors plus. That's fine. Format options. There's no audio, so that's fine. Next, let's call this lower thirds. There we go. Press save. And you're pretty much good. So let's render it out. Great. So now we have that video rendered out, which is wonderful. Good. So there's our video right here. Let's drag it into After Effects just to show you what it did. So now this is 720p, so it's not going to match. It's going to be a bit small. Yeah, so let me just scale it up. And that's how you do it. That's how you render in After Effects. You'll notice over here it has an alpha channel, so that's wonderful. And yeah, that's how you do it. So thank you for watching. See you in the next tutorial. I guess I can mark this off now. Good. So once again, thanks for watching. Have a great day. Until then.